outside of wrestling and outside of the broadcasting, I know you're very involved with helping out in your community. You do participated in a lot of different events over the years. What kinds of things have you done to uh, raise money or give back to your community over the years?
Well, being a public personality, so to speak, you meet people. And I remember, I don't know, you're based out of Nashville. I don't know what your listenership is, but a guy who was a big star in Florida and Mid Atlantic wrestling, Paul Jones, number one, Paul Jones, and Paul had an auto business in Charlotte, and I was a partner, a limited partner in that. And when I moved back from my second radio stop in Las Vegas, I moved back to Charlotte to work at a sports station here in Charlotte and WFNZ. And Paul, who knew me from wrestling, and I knew him, he was once involved in South Atlantic Pro Wrestling. He introduced me to Roman Gabriel, the former NFL MVP, played for the Los Angeles Rams and Philadelphia Eagles, big towering person. I knew him growing up. I mean, Gabe was big. He was a legend, and Gabe did a lot of charity golf tournaments, and then I end up, you get invitations. Hey, you meet someone here, you meet someone there, you're a fan, or hey, you're at a show. Hey, I'm putting on this tournament. Would you appear? And, we're not, we don't want to be bloodsuckers, and you're doing this for charities, but you'd like to get some type of compensation to, for expenses to get to where these things are taking place. But a lot of these, and Gabe would put on golf tournaments, and he was a guy who went on USO tours with Bob Hope. He was on TV shows, movies, you name it, John Wayne movies, and the whole bit. So Gabe talks to me about, hey, you're athletic, you're still young at the time, you want to play some celebrity golf tournaments, just show up, play golf, have fun, talk to people, and they're paying for the privilege of playing with a sports personality. One of like a person like myself in a group of three paying people or whatever the setup was, and you would go to these tournaments, and we did things for juvenile diabetes research, domestic violence prevention and awareness, boys and girls clubs, big brothers, big sisters, whatever the charities, Mac Williams, ALS research, no matter what the charity was, we would show up. A group of, not always just sports personalities, people who play different sports, people in movies, TV, whatever it was. And you'd show up and you would generate revenue. And these tournaments that I did, not just through Roman, but through other people, organizers who did these things. And it was easy for us. We like playing golf. You show up, we usually play a practice round among ourselves, all the guys, we'd show up and do our thing. And then we'd go put on our public performance today when people are paying, and then and after expenses are met, there'd usually be a net proceeds that would be distributed to these various charities, and that's what we did.
That's so amazing, getting involved in something you love and are very passionate about, being a part of something huge, with your friends and networking with all kinds of people. Was there a particular cause that you are passionate about that you got to help spread awareness with for these tournaments?
Well, I'm involved with a one of my a close friend of mine, William Wilson is his name. Will grew up in Arkansas, joined the Navy, got a degree. Well, his degrees are degrees from University of Arkansas and Old Dominion University. Then he went into NASCAR and became a crewman in the NASCAR Truck Series. He won two titles. He was a jackman for Ted Musgrave's Truck Series team for two championships. Should have won a third, and that's what he talks about most of all. But William Wilson also started a clothing company, and he has something called the Clother Classic, and his cause is domestic violence prevention and awareness. That's something that I really support. I grew up sadly in a home that had those types of things, so I could relate. And now it's something I'm very focused on. I'm very against any type of domestic violence. I'm very, very maybe to my own detriment. But if I see someone who I think is out of line, I will confront them. I'm not young anymore, 61 years old, but I'm still not no slouch. I learned a lot. I know a lot. I'm a law-abiding citizen, but I'm not going to put up and see things that go awry. I'll just digress temporarily. I was still wrestling at the time, and I was emceeing, one of my between tours. I was in Richmond, and a local establishment restaurant had little bands, and I would come on, warm the crowd up. Talk, I was getting paid, and but also help the security guys. And but I would MC and stuff. And I remember one night we were off. I was with Punisher Tommy Rose, the Bad Dog Mike Thomas, and I know one of the guys on the basketball team at VCU with me, Martin Henlon, and there's a lot of other people that I knew, local people. And I saw this guy grabbing this woman at the bar, and it was untowards, and I didn't dig it. And I walked up to the guy really close, uncomfortable. I said, "Dude, what are you doing?" And we had some words, and he was basically telling me to mind his own business and my business. But I said, "No, that's not how it's going to go." And one of his buddies hits me blindside, and then my friends jump in, and then we tore the whole place down and did several hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages. Now I didn't want that to happen, but I stood up for a woman who I thought was being abused at the time, not in public. This is ridiculous. This is, granted, this is a different time, but it was still, no time is a good time for that. And I stood up for that because that's something that I believe in. I got, didn't want that. I don't care if they didn't want to book me anymore. That was not the problem. I didn't care at the time. So that domestic violence awareness and prevention is something that I really support. And William Wilson, with his Clother Classic and his charitable foundation, he supports domestic violence awareness and research. And so I support that. That's, if you ask me what's my number one thing that I support, that's what it is.
Wow. Uh, what you did was very courageous, very brave. It's very hard, to see something like that go on, and you put yourself out there and were able to take care of it, take care of the situation, and it's kudos to you.
Well, I was lucky I had guys like the Bad Dog, Mike Thomas, there, because I mean, you turn around, you see a guy, he hits me upside the head with a glass ashtray back in those days, and it was on. It was like one of these old things, the Wild Wild West, one of these old Western bar fights. That's what it turned into. And you got a guy like Tommy Rose throwing guys out through windows. Bad Dog. I've never seen Bad Dog, who was a state amateur wrestling champion in Colonial Heights, Virginia. He grabs a guy and basically belly to back suplexes him through a table. And then just these guys were no joke. The guys that I traveled with, guys of my era, I'm not saying we were tougher than a lot of guys today, but I'm saying we were very tough in those days. And we didn't mess around. We laid everything in, and it was dog eat dog. You stood up, and when chairs and fists are flying, you got to protect yourself, and that's what we did. We took up for the business, we took up for ourselves, and we took up at that moment in time. We took up, did things for the better cause. I wasn't going to let one of my friends get jumped. They weren't going to let me get jumped because we were doing the right thing, and we took care of business.
Yeah.